All right, so this is going to be the fifth installment of In the Grip of ThermostatAnon, which is borrowed, the title itself is borrowed from the original title of this video here, which original title was In the Grip of Q-MAGAnon. And this acronymic title, we won't decipher because there's so much information there that it would take a considerable amount of time to remember all of it and to recover it. Viewers of this particular series or segment in our work, will be aware that what this series does is it justifies the presence of this video on YouTube and refutes the claim that this particular video violates YouTube's harmful, content policy, particularly in relationship to conspiracy theory, which promote conspiracy theories which promote violence. And the reason that we're making that claim that it doesn't do that is because it does precisely the opposite, that it critiques and challenges these conspiracy theories and points to the violence that they create. So basically the opposite of what it's being accused of. I made a few disclaimers yesterday that I should perhaps repeat and maybe expand upon. I made the disclaimer that not all of the characters presented in this video may be the actual persons that they represent, although many of the characters in this video either exist in our actual world or in some fictional world inside the Marvel universe. For example, there is a Michael Flynn, there is a Christopher Miller, so we can't deny that these characters are unrelated to anyone, and that their resemblances to these individuals is merely accidental. We perhaps can say the same thing about the Marvel characters. Martian Manhunter and the Guardians of the Galaxy, in fact, do exist in the Marvel universe and aren't inventions of our own, although the particular fiction that is created in the video, because this video does tell a story, and we've outlined what the dimensions of that story are, or what the basic story map is, and it involves the need to preserve democracy into the 31st century by finding a hero here in the 21st century who is capable of acting with courage, fortitude, and integrity in the preservation of our democracy. And the Guardians of the Galaxy, with the help of Martian Manhunter, do accomplish that, but they have some difficulty toward the beginning finding the hero that they need to take action. And are there any other disclaimers I need to make? Yeah, I mentioned that some of the portrayals may have been made by actors who look a lot like the real characters in our world and in our government. Well, for example, the image of Michael Flynn, that may or may not be the actual Michael Flynn. And the same for Christopher Miller and Donald Trump and the rest of them. And we've taken the liberty also to utilize collage, and because of that, I stated that the FBI, or whoever it might be, not just the FBI, but any agency that is seeking criminal justice in relationship to the events of January 6th, should probably not use my series of memes to identify individuals in crowds. Those individuals presented here may or may not be the actual individuals who created the violence and mayhem and destruction of property and murders that occurred on January 6th, 2021. and some of the events portrayed may look like, you know, they are actually January 6th events. I think we talked about that with Trump wreathed in the QAnon wreath, but may refer to, you know, events prior to that and the conspiracy theories leading up, you know, to the January 6th riot insurrection. So I think those are adequate disclaimers. If not, I guess, you know, YouTube can contact me and we won't be able to discuss it because there's no discussion and there's really no appeal. You just sort of click a button and say appeal, and then 4 minutes later the AI that determines, you know, the violation, like, clicks back and tells you that it's correct. But in any case, I think those are the only disclaimers that we need to make. All right, so I'll just play up to the point that we left off at yesterday, and oops, that should play. There we go. So this is the beginning of the video. A story told in memes, whose characters do exist either in our world or in some comic fictional world, such as the Marvel Universe, but whose portrayals here may not be made by those actual characters. So I'm not claiming this is actually Chad Wolf, but I am claiming that it's an attempt to, you know, represent Chad Wolf, and obviously you can see by the eyes, and I don't know if we've seen anyone that had this particular condition before. This is it's related to stage 7 of the MAGAnon madness, but it goes beyond stage 7, and this is not the fisheye, this is the Sith eye. And the difference between the difference between the fisheye and the Sith eye is the fisheye occurs first in only one of the eyes. This is the disease that spreads among the followers of MQ-MAGAnon, and one acquires the fisheye at stage 7, and then beyond that, the resulting Sith eyes. And you can see here the Sith insignia 2525. This is the threat to democracy right here, you see, because it's not just about the 2024 election, but they want to take over. And you know, in the year 2525, the song, we'll play that maybe sometime later. Yeah, we should probably, you know, document that song as well. But that's part of the reference. And then of course there's a little mathematical error here. If we continue with the election, you know, the 4-year, you know, presidential election schedule, there in fact couldn't be an election in 25, but the Sith-eyed Maganons, you know, don't Q-Maganons don't seem to be concerned with math at that level. Some of this, let me see if I can go back and get more of the text in. Well, not really. All right, so you connect the missing dots. Oh, the missing dots are here, D, A, C, A, another acronym. Let's see. I think the dots work in the way that Zorro works with his sword, because the sort of invisible hero, the invisible connect the dot hero is fashioned after Zorro. So if we connect the dots in the form of a Z, we would have DACA. I wonder what that means. Before we talk more about, let's see if there's anything up here. The Democratic Association to Counter Atrocity presents, and then Chad Wolf as the whatever goes beyond stage 7 of the Q-MAGAn Madness, which is the Sith eye, right? And then the Sith sign. This is Q-MAGAn into the 26th century, I guess. But the Guardians are concerned that it'll go all the way into the 31st. Let's see if DACA is an acronym for anything. And here's the Chad Wolf page. I opened up this in advance of a broken arm, to quote Marcel Duchamp. And, it does seem to mean something. Deferred action for childhood arrivals. DACA is an administrative relief that protects eligible immigrants who came to the United States when they were children from deportation. DACA gives undocumented immigrants protection from deportation and a work permit. Now, I wonder why that would be in an image of Chad Wolf. Let's see if we can find any information that'll help us document this for the sake of Tucker Carlson, who likes documentation. Interesting. So, this is from November 14th. 2020. There's Mr. Wolf. Chad Wolf. Little ad came up. Chad Wolf, acting Secretary of Homeland Security. He was acting Secretary of Homeland Security until, does anyone remember the date? Does anyone remember the date that Chad Wolf's application for permanent Secretary of Homeland Security was pulled by Donald J. Trump? Anyone? It just so happens that it was January 6th, following probably like the only legitimate act that this individual ever managed to produce, during his tenure, which was that he criticized Donald Trump's reaction and response to the events of January 6th. We'll get into that later. Sits in the audience during the 2020 Republican National Convention on the South Lawn of the White House on August 27th, 2020. And then the article goes on to state that a federal judge in New York City on Saturday said Chad Wolf has not been acting lawfully as the Chief of Homeland Security, and that as such, his suspension of protections for a class of migrants brought to the United States illegally as children is invalid. And, here's that word again, DACA, as in the one spelled out by Zorro's connecting of the dots. The U.S. Supreme Court ruled in June that the Trump administration wrongly tried to shut down protections under the Obama-era legislation known as deferred action for childhood arrivals. So I guess what's important about the evil nature of the character is that this is a protection of children, right? On July 28, Wolf nonetheless suspended DACA pending review. All right, so that explains part of the title. And let's see now, can I even get back to the video from here? I'm going to close this because we don't want this one open. We take another passing look at Chad. Here he is asking for Daddy's approval. I think we have formally referred to Chad as the world's oldest living baby boy, and I think the reason that we referred to him as the world's oldest living baby boy is because he always seemed so desirous of Daddy Trump's approval, as you can see in his expression here, his posture, the way that he holds his hands, and the way that you know, he refuses to look Daddy in the eye. See if there are any other images. Nope, just looks like the rest is just ads. All right, that's good enough. We'll close this one out. See if I can get back to the video. All right, so here we are. He has the Sith eye. The relationship with DACA is there. The Democratic Association to Counter Atrocity. I'm referring to the harm that he caused mothers and children, you know, isolating them in cages as an atrocity. And then there are other atrocities coming. You connect the missing dots. Like, okay, so if you connect the missing dots, you'll understand what we're talking about in relationship to atrocity, and then, you know, it's this Z, you know, as in Zorro, that allows you to connect the missing dots. I don't think there are any missing dots here. That's the famous. Oh, I mentioned the Marvel Universe, and I mentioned our universe, and in my disclaimer. But I believe I failed, you know, to make any disclaimers regarding George Lucas and the Star Wars universe. And you know, so once again, Chad Wolf, the actual Chad Wolf, who may or may not be depicted here, this could be an actor, and the even the Sith eye. This may not have actually happened to Chad. We may have had to collage that in or get the makeup artist to do that work. And, you know, Chad may or may not belong to the, it may or may not exist in both the George Lucas fictional Star Wars universe and our universe. I'm not denying, I'm not confirming or denying that that Chad does exist in the future fictional universe created by George Lucas and the franchise that developed around that fiction. Okay, so that with that disclaimer being made, let's go on. There's our fish. I think we talked about the fish already. Okay, let's stop here. All right, can we even read this? Probably not, and especially not if I put a filter on it. I'll have to read it for you. Thank you, MMH. I'm on it. We're sending in, and then all the Danae are gonna like be outraged that I can't pronounce this word, but I can't pronounce this word because I'm sorry. I'm not even gonna try. Okay. Any word on Georgia? Georgia is, you know, one of those, you know, one of those states that was very close, right? And the results coming in, you know, took forever. And okay, so this Navajo word is a name, and I know what it means, but I can't pronounce it. This is Monster Slayer, right? And Monster Slayer. So the first part refers to Arizona and all of the Dene, the Navajos, you know, getting out the vote and really turning that state for us, and that was like a big important thing. Right after that happened, and Arizona, you know, went to Biden, then the conservatives in Arizona like started taking steps, making it difficult for especially Navajos on the interior, you know, to get out the vote. And, you know, some of the some of the ideas around you know, what allows one to vote, having the right information, having the right documentation, having a street address rather than a post office address. Some of this is more difficult in certain regions and areas than others. For example, like on the Navajo Nation, it's very likely that you don't have a street address, right? You may have a chapter house mailing address, and you may have a street address, but you may not. You know, you may live in a hogan, you know, in an area, but it doesn't have an address. The road doesn't even have a name, and you know, for a lot of the elders as well, and these are individuals, you know, who could have easily, you know, done, you know, military service. A lot of Navajos do military service, but they still might not have all of the proper identification and that's required by some of these polling sites. When you live remotely, like keeping up with things like this is a lot more difficult. For example, like if you have no running water, right, but you have cattle or you have sheep, like then you have to give those cattle and sheep water. Well, that's a lot of water. And if you don't have water, you don't have pipes, you know, that bring water to your farm or your ranch or your home, you have to have a very large cistern, and you have to drive it in your truck, and you have to fill it with water, and you have to do that often. It's a lot of work, and it's the same with everything living remotely. The conveniences that a lot of people just take for granted don't exist in you know, once you step out of that limited arena, right? And anyway, so he's saying this is a general. I think in the Marvel universe, this general is rumored to, or there are suggestions, you know, that he may be, you know, the secret identity of Martian Manhunter, and therefore, oh yeah, it's like there's the Psi, right? The Greek Psi, because he has psychic powers, and there's the Theta because he's working with us, I guess. Thank you, MMH is Martian Manhunter. There's another acronym because we play with that a lot. I'm on it. We're sending in Monster Slayer, right? And Monster Slayer was and is a character in the Dene, the Navajo mythology, and belongs to that, you know, that family of hero twins. And he's called Monster Slayer because that's what he does. He uses arrows and thunder to slay monsters, and this is how you know, he preserved peace and harmony. And in Shiprock was a monster that the Shiprock itself, you know, was a monster that Monster Slayer, you know, defeated, and we enlisted his service, you know, in Arizona to help us, you know, get out the vote and get Trump, you know, out of office, and he did a lot of work for us, and it was very effective. Again, I guess I should make a disclaimer. I am not certain that Monster Slayer can negotiate ontological boundaries and enter into either the George Lucas universe or the Marvel universe. I know that Monster Slayer can traverse mythological, actual physical boundaries and enter into our universe, but you know, the rest, I don't want to make claims about the actual ability of traversing these universes. This is, as I say, a fiction. It's an allegory, so it relates to events in real life, but all of the information in this particular meme and in the narrative, you know, that this particular meme belongs to may not be literally true. Like, I'm not claiming that these are the actual words that Martian Manhunter and this general, I can't recall his name, who does exist in the Marvel universe, but, you know, may not exist in our universe, used, but it was something, you know, perhaps like this. All right. I don't even know if you're going to be able to see this at all. So we'll just focus on, so those are two different states that they're talking about there. They're talking about Arizona and they're talking about Georgia. Georgia's pretty obvious. You've got to infer, I guess, Arizona by the name here that I'm not able to pronounce, and I'm aware that I'm not able to pronounce it, and so I'm not going to try, but that we translate as Monster Slayer. All right, so I'll just focus on John Johns or John Jones, however you prefer to pronounce his name. Well, because I don't think you can even see the text. Like I said, especially if I put a filter on it. As the most powerful telepath in the galaxy, this is what John Johns is saying. I can guarantee you, General. Oh, here is his name. Swanwick. So I guess General Swanwick, exists in the Marvel universe and may or may not, be able to enter our universe, but enters our universe, at least in this form, as an allegorical representation of generals who are willing to help preserve democracy in the 21st century, immediately prior to and immediately following the events of the insurrection of January 6th. Is that clear? Okay. So, General Swanwick, that your ex-president is delusional. Okay, so this is we already looked at an image of Tucker Carlson explaining, how he knows that Trump won the election, and with his psi cards, and then John Jones is refuting that, saying, as the most powerful telepath in the galaxy, I can guarantee you, General Swanwick, that your ex-president, like he's already making the claim like that this guy's out, right? John Jones is not an election denier, okay? Is delusional, dangerously paranoid, fully committed to destroying anyone he perceives as a threat to his power, and utterly emotionally incapable of accepting any form of censor or concession, right? So he's telling us that he doesn't have the psychological stability or emotional maturity to accept defeat as a grown man would, and so he is in fact a threat. So that's basically what's going on in this conversation, right? And then even though the bubbles, the speech bubbles, enter into one another's realms, the space-time that each of these individuals exist in is separate. At least that's what's proposed. Although perhaps the hint that this is one and the same person and in just two different forms is given through the intrusion of Martian manhunters' speech bubbles into the physical space of General Stanwick. I don't know. I mean, that's really for my viewers and my readers to interpret. I don't want to push my own reading. I also would ask my viewers and readers to consider. I mean, obviously the speech bubble over here, right, is green, and then this one sort of black, in keeping with the tone of the frame, and green in keeping with Martian Manhunter's skin color, but this one is blue, and maybe I don't want to spell everything out, or there's nothing interesting left, right? in interpreting some of these images. I mean, he does have a blue cape, so maybe the blue speech bubble corresponds with the cape, but there's room for interpretation there, I think, and I think we should leave it at that. I think we're only at about a half an hour, so I think we can proceed on a bit. Maybe we can do Okay, here is, oh, yeah, let's go ahead and do this, and then we can talk more about Chad, because we really do want to talk a little bit about the world's oldest living baby boy. By show of hands, who here is willing to destroy a wildlife preserve and a Catholic orphanage for no other purpose than to receive a pat on the head from Donnie Dearest? And of course, Mr. Wolf, did both of those things, and the rationale behind doing them, was no more or less than the wildlife preserve and the Catholic orphanage were in the way of the plan for the wall, the wall that Trump insisted that Mexico was going to pay for with its tariffs, and that the working poor here in the United States would never have to pay for, even though of course tariffs are so where do a lot of those Trump peas, either the green ones or the white ones, shop? Well, one thinks of Walmart. Okay, so all the product, maybe not all of the products in Walmart, what, like 98% of the products in Walmart come from another country, and the reason that they're cheap is because they're made in places where there aren't fair labor practices, right? So tariffs are going to increase, and if the tariffs are high enough, they can put a corporation like Walmart out of business. If they don't do that, then the company it doesn't just sacrifice the CEOs and the managers of these places don't just sacrifice the money that they make and their profits because somebody implements a tariff. They increase the prices. So you can guarantee that that wall that Mexico was supposedly going to pay for with tariffs is going to go into your costs at the local Walmart and anywhere else, right? That receives products from Mexico, and if those tariffs apply to China, anywhere that you buy products from China. And of course, a lot of our produce now, because Monsanto basically has ruined the idea of the family farm in the United States. Much of our produce, and you can check this for yourself, you can do the research, and Tucker can do the research for himself. Go into any local market and look where the produce comes from, even if it's packaged in Arizona or Albuquerque or somewhere in what used to be the breadbasket of the nation in California. Packaging that doesn't mean much if the produce comes from somewhere else. It comes from either Chile or Argentina. And it's the same for a lot of the other products that you buy in the grocery store. So anyway, so that's about that was kind of an aside, and that's not Chad's fault, but the rest of it is, right? So world's oldest little baby boy, by show of hands, who here is willing to destroy a wildlife preserve and a Catholic orphanage for no other purpose than to receive a pat on the head from Donnie Dearest, as in, Daddy Dearest, I suppose. There's the hand, he's raising his hand. For some reason, the Sith eye, he's still mega theory. Oh, okay, so you probably can't see this because if we put a filter on it, you certainly won't be able to see it. I probably shouldn't be doing it with filters. I should. We'll. How about this? How about we? I have been putting comic filters on these pieces, but I'll stop doing that. Even though I really hate to change in midstream, but I think I might stop doing that so that you can actually see more. My viewers can see more. Megatherion forever, which is a play on the Greek word for the great beast, right? So the great beast, who is the beast, right? In the book of Revelation, in Greek, that's megatherion. That just means the great beast, and so the megatherion is a play on that. It's still got the Sith badge. I can't explain why the Sith eye, in you know, comes in and then, you know, seems to get better, and I don't know. I don't know enough about the science. And I don't want to get in trouble, like and you know, with one of the you know, conservative House investigations, in the way that you know, some of the science around, you know, COVID got people into trouble. So I don't want to make claims about this particular virus, the Q-MAGAn virus, that, you know, it may or may not be true. And then depending on where you are in which universe, that may influence as well. Like, so here, maybe Chad is in our universe. Let's go back. This could be like what he looks like in our universe, and he's still wearing the Sith badge, although it's got a different slogan than it had in the other one. And then before I go back, I just want to see the little puffy lip thing going on that suggests like a certain amount of insecurity and like and childish, you know, I don't know, there's just something like childish about the way that he holds his mouth. That's a result of like this desire for approval from the father, right? Like all wannabe fascists want their daddy's love. That's like a prerequisite for the psychological structure of fascists, to be like this little boy, you know, who identifies with daddy and needs daddy's approval and wants to be big and strong like daddy someday, right? So there's the hand. But let's go back and see if we can find justification that maybe in the other image he is in fact in a different universe, like either the Marvel universe or the George Lucas universe. It's hard to say. Isn't he wearing the same outfit? But maybe in parallel universes that doesn't matter. You might have the same suit in a parallel universe. Let's go up to the other one. Yeah, it's the same suit. He looks good in clothes because he's so skinny. And that skinny tie. I guess if you're really thin, you can get away with a skinny tie. Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say. It's hard to say if there's a, you know, dimensional you know, or intergalactic, you know, exchange, you know, going on, and that's the reason that the eyes change, or if it's just a condition that you know, goes in and out. I'm not entirely certain. And like I said, I don't want to make any claims that might prove, you know, dangerous, you know, to me, and that might, you know, inspire the insane members of the Republican House to take some kind of McCarthy-esque action and summon me to testify. Let's go ahead and move on before I get in too much trouble. All right, okay, let's not go any further. Let's actually, I'm going too far. Let's stop there, and then let's do some documentation regarding Mr. Wolf, so that people don't only believe that I'm, you know, picking on him because he has these large ears and wears the Sith badge. We'll go ahead and close that. Some information about, you know, Mr. Wolf that, you know, maybe doesn't involve DACA. on August 24th, Trump announced that he would nominate Wolf as the permanent Secretary of Homeland Security. Wolf was expected to continue to serve as acting secretary during the confirmation process, as his acting appointment was made under the Homeland Security Act of 2002. On January 3rd, 2021, Wolf's nomination was submitted to the 117th Congress, January 3rd, right? 3 days before January 6th. But on January 6th, it was formally withdrawn, reportedly around 1 hour after Wolf called upon Trump to denounce the 2021 storming of the United States Capitol. So even Mr. Wolf, who, as we've documented, although, don't quote me, in conversation with the FBI regarding this fact, but, as we've documented, is a member of the ThFAJ6AGOThGHOThMQ-MAGAn movement. Even this member of the ThFAJ6AGOThGHOThMQ-MAGAn movement asked or called upon Trump to denounce the storming of the Capitol. And then, if I recall, he resigned, immediately after that. But I mean, what did he really have to stay around for? His permanent nomination was already formally withdrawn, right? So he was fired, and then so the saying that he tendered his resignation is really kind of silly. It says he got along with Stephen Miller, the autistic fascist that belonged to Trump's administration. No offense to anyone on the spectrum, but there's something really off about, Mr. Miller in a very uncomfortable, sort of way. The production of meltdowns and the repetition of the same sentence when someone refutes his claims with factual counter arguments and his being prone to reiterate and sort of what's the word that I want? Perseverate, on certain ideas. Here's the DACA information. In February 2020, Wolf announced that the Trump administration was revoking New York residents' ability to participate in global entry and other trusted traveler programs in response to the state's sanctuary immigration policies, which DHS said jeopardized the government's ability to effectively vet travelers. The move prompted the state of New York to sue the administration. Okay, so pulling certain states, selectively pulling certain states' rights in relationship to their participation in this idea of becoming a sanctuary city that allowed individuals, that were seeking sanctuary in the United States for either political reasons and, that may have threatened their lives or as a result of, natural disasters. These, displaced individuals, required, safety and security in a safe place, and certain cities and certain, areas of the United States offered that assistance, and then Mr. Wolf took action against them, illegal, action like not constituted by law, but in very much the same way that Trump threatens to go after his enemies, right? So if someone does something that I don't like, I take an action against them, whether I have the legal authority to do so or not. More on some of his stuff, like how he was anti-Antifa. Antifa is anti-fascist, right? So if you're anti-Antifa, you're basically pro-fascist, which shouldn't surprise anyone, that you would be pro-fascist if your sort of father figure is Donald Trump, and all of what you want in this whole big wide world is Donnie Dearest's approval as the world's oldest living baby boy. So there's that information. I think he deployed like 100 or 200. Does it say anything there here about that? Into Portland, illegally deployed force of how many individuals? Does it say? What is that? I'm looking for a number here. During his tenure as head of the DHS, Wolf redirected resources to DHS toward Antifa, loose movement of left-wing agitators. At the time, career DHS officials and other law enforcement agencies emphasized that the domestic terrorism threats stemmed from far-right groups, not Antifa. Yeah, so in spite of the fact that it was really the far right, right? And you know, things like Charlottesville, like that were the threat. It was preferable for Mr. Wolf, you know, to target Antifa, like those individuals like struggling against fascism. I guess that would be me, right? Because we also struggle against fascism. And then to go after the real threats, the individuals actually, you know, causing harm and ending lives and all of that. Does it say what the number of individuals deployed in Portland was? I'm thinking it was 200 or 100 troops. Oh, here we go. Okay, so this is a separate this is a separate deal. Let's see what the numbers are here. Oh, it's okay. It's 100. So in July 2020, Wolf sent it. We'll get there eventually, and then like I think more of the George Lucas universe comes in at that point, you know, because they look a lot like stormtroopers. So anyway, so in July 2020, Wolf sent about 100 federal agents dressed in camouflage and tactical gear to Portland, Oregon. Okay, that's what I'm talking about. To help guard the federal courthouse, where they used tear gas on protesters who threw fireworks. Frozen water bottles, blues filled with paint and feces, against courthouse windows. Agents also used unmarked vehicles to detain and remove protesters and the protesters. So this is kind of like the Empire Strikes Back, right? So that part of our plot, like as it emerges, so I'm giving away. This is like it's not a prolepsis. It's like what do you call it when you give stuff away in your review? I forget the word that I'm looking for. But this is like one of those reviews like that gives away the plot. So you know, unfortunately, but anyway, there's a part in the narrative where the Empire strikes back and that largely takes place in the George Lucas universe, under the sign of the Sith movement 2525, and we'll get there. But you know, that refers to that little moment. There's something about there's something about Trump stating that he liked this guy, he hired this guy because he did what he was told. That's part of our oldest living baby boy thing. Oh yeah, here we go. This is even documented here. Okay, tenure. Trump told aides that he liked Wolf more than his predecessors because his predecessors pushed back on Trump's expansive view of federal power. Wolf also reported to have a good relationship with the White House advisor Stephen Miller. I made a comment about Stephen Miller, but I missed this little confirmation here, and that's, you know, one of the reasons why we refer to Chad Wolf as the world's oldest living baby boy, because he does what daddy tells him to do, right? And doesn't push back. And that's why I suppose it was so surprising that, I'm going to find the other one. On January, well, it says he resigned, but his permanent, application had already been pulled, so like it's not really much of resignation. Sorry, that's that cold that I have, or virus, or whatever it is, kicking in. Oh yeah, here's another thing. I forgot to mention this, and I'm not even sure this is a big part of our plot, because usually when we talk about the conspiracies in relationship to Russia and the Russian interference of the 2016 election, which is well documented at this point, and almost feels like old history, right? But and more interference in 2020, and of course it's still interference going on, right? But this isn't something that Trump wants to talk about. He wants to talk about his conspiracy theories. Okay, so according to a whistleblower complaint released in September 2020, Wolf ordered DHS's intelligence branch to stop producing intelligence reports on Russian interference in the 2020 election, and not to disseminate those points because they, quote, made the president look bad, right? Is that not the world's oldest living baby boy, or what? So this individual is supposed to be in charge of Homeland Security, but his actions aren't based on ethics, but because he wants the approval of the president, and because the truth, right, and disseminating the truth makes daddy look bad? Are you kidding me? I'm sorry, are you kidding me? Can I say it again? Are you kidding me, Chad? Are you kidding me? Seriously? Seriously? Oldest living baby boy is in charge of Homeland Security? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? You get the idea. All right, so there's a lot, and I'm sure we're missing a lot. You can do the research on your own, but I think, we presented enough, at least, to justify. Oops, where did my movie go? Okay, I think we've presented enough, to justify. Let me go back, because we want both of the chat images on here. I think we've presented enough documentation, even, for Tucker Carlson to justify the images of Mr. Chad Wolf in this particular, as I said, fictional representation in comic form that involves multiple universes and multiple time frames of events that actually happened. And we'll fade out on the sound. That wasn't really much of a fade out, but good enough. All right, so this segment here is really like just an errata and a confusion about possible fictive universes. Although there's some room for some ambiguity, because there is a mega comic universe, or maybe not mega, meta, I think is the better word. In some of the meta universes that exist, John Jones, Martian Manhunter, exists alongside, Marvel characters, including the Guardians of the Galaxy. But I don't believe that we explicitly acknowledge the fact that the universe to which, John Jones belongs, literally, right, is the DC universe and not the Marvel universe. And so his relationship with the Guardians of the Galaxy is yet again another example of interdimensional universe crossing, or the possibility of space-time layers and dimensions that exceed the bounds of universe and expand into the possibilities of multiverse. So my failure, to acknowledge that may in some way, how do I want to put this? May in some way misrepresent all of the possibilities of interdimensionality and space-time travel that are actually operating in the multi-universal dimensions of this particular fiction. And I don't want that to seem as if it were conspiratorial in any way. And in particular, some of the things that may come up relate, to Elon, or I'm sorry, wrong name, Leon Mosquito's project of colonizing Mars, and I don't want it to appear that the presentation of this Martian life form, John's Martian Manhunter, is an argument in favor of the possibility of human life on that particular planet, and that it in some way endorses or supports this idea that the extreme amounts of radiation that human beings would experience on Mars can somehow be circumvented if we understand the physical characteristics of someone like John Jones better, or learn from the capacity of such an individual or entity to survive under such harsh circumstances. So rather than flattening out all of the dimensions of these multiple universes into a single continuous experiential plane that might appear to support the ridiculous ideas of Leon Mosquito regarding the colonization of Mars, I want to underscore the fact that there are these multiple meta-universes or multi-universes in which the characters in this particular storyline seem to be able to traverse. And so the physical and ontological conditions of Mars in our universe shouldn't create an opportunity for a belief in the possibility of life, whatever form it might take on Mars, within the stability of the universe that we occupy as members of the whatever it is our universe is called. It's not the George Lucas universe. It's not the Marvel universe. It's not John's DC universe. It's just our universe, right? Maybe it's our universe, as we experience it, Anyway, so I think that errata is important.